Well, here we are in the month of July, and through July, August, and September, we typically experience some very hot weather bass fishing. And anytime we get into some really hot weather bass fishing, I am always thinking about creeks, small, tiny creeks. In today's video, we're going to talk about not only creek fishing like from the bank, but also creek fishing in boats, like getting away from main lakes, running up rivers, running up creeks, because I think that it is one of the most fun techniques that you can do in the middle of summer in the hottest time of the year. Now, before we get into this video, this one's brought to you by my apparel company, Fin Fishing. Right now for the month of July 2024, I am running a sale on all of my USA made sun shirts. So whether it's a solid color like this, or I have a number of camo patterns, they are all 20% off. And if you get 2 or more, you actually also get free shipping. So anyways, shopping at Fin Fishing is truly the best way to help support this channel. I will leave links down below in the description. I greatly appreciate it. All right, let's talk about creek fishing in the summer. Because like I said, you know, a number of years ago, when John Cox won the Wheeler Lake tournament, which was the FLW Cup, this is when I think it really kind of opened my eyes into this late summertime, hot weather, shallow water bite. And it all really revolves around creek fishing. And when he did that, I think that like a lot of anglers were like, man, like Wheeler Lake during that time of the year, it's supposed to be one offshore, you know, fishing for fish in schools, on ledges, on humps, whatever it may be. And he was going way up a creek arm. I mean, like as far up as you can go. You couldn't even probably get there with a glass boat. He was using an aluminum boat, and he was catching some giant fish, like doing the stuff that we as anglers all love, like frogging, flipping, like just having an absolute ball. And I remember watching that and it just being kind of opened up to that whole kind of pattern. And over the years, I have done this a lot, and it doesn't always work, but there are definitely situations where it can be the deal. As a matter of fact, a number of years ago, I was fishing on Douglas Lake down in Tennessee, and I was fishing a Bassmaster Open event, and guess what? That tournament was won by, again, a guy who had an aluminum boat, and he was running as far up the river as you could, and he was fishing in really skinny water, like a foot, 2 foot, 3 foot of water, and he won the tournament catching both big largemouth and I think a few smallmouth that he weighed in. And so this happens in a number of different lakes. And what it kind of brought me back to my childhood, because when I was, growing up, getting into bass fishing when I was 14, 15, 16, that's when I was really diving into bass fishing. Me and one of my best friends, like we used to fish a local creek here called the Darby Creek, and we fished it all the time for smallmouth. And during the summer, like besides getting absolutely eaten up by bugs and stinging nettles, I don't know if you guys know those plants that will sting you through your jeans, but those suckers, besides getting eaten up by those things, man, we had some of my best childhood memories were all fishing creeks in the dead of summer. And the thing about a creek is it's going to provide a little bit of flow, it's going to provide a lot of shade, and that flow and shade give you cooler water, more oxygen, more bait fish, which in turn will bring you bass. Now, obviously, if you're just fishing a creek like I did the Darby Creek, that's all you got. But even if you're fishing like bigger lakes out there, or even really big river systems that have small little creeks that funnel into it, sometimes getting as far up these things as you can go are really going to produce a ton of fish because of those things that we just talked about, because of all the shade, the cooler water, the oxygen. And so it's something that I have really grown fond of, and it's something I'm gonna make a video of this probably just in a day or two about. Like, there are just times in the summer where you've been staring at your, like I love offshore fishing, but sometimes I stare at my electronics so much throughout the summer that I just get a little tired of it. And sometimes it's just nice to go up in shallow water, way up a creek, way up a river, and just do a little bit more power fishing, do a little bit more flipping, pitching, spinnerbaits, frogs, shallow cranking. Like, there's a lot of different techniques that can catch fish, but a lot of times it's all about finding the right creek that has a little bit of flow. Also, sometimes when you get up in these creeks, you'll find dirtier water. And when you find that dirtier water, it can be a really big key. As a matter of fact, it can be the reason that the fish are up there. A number of years ago, I have a ton of examples. This was actually before the John Cox thing happened, but I didn't realize how significant it was. But I was fishing at a college event in Virginia on a lake called Philpott Lake. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of Philpott Lake, but in this particular tournament, we had a practice period, and it was a week before the event. We went down during that practice period, and we fished all over this lake. Fished deep water, drop shots, all kinds of things in deep water. Could not catch a bass to save our lives. Could not catch a bass. I remember like 2 days of not catching fish, like one here and there. But then all of a sudden, and this was actually my buddy who was with me, he's like, dude, let's go up the river. And I'm like, shoot, we ain't got nothing else to do. Like, we've got literally nothing else to do. And so we ran way up this river, and I remember him telling me, like, just keep going, just keep going. And so we just kept going. And I was in my little 17-foot Javelin bass boat at the time, and we were going as far up this creek as we could. And we got up there, and the water color had turned from really clear to just a good stain. And we got up there to this one little bend, and there was some laydowns, and the water went from like a foot or two of water into like 3 and 4 foot of water. And I picked up a frog, and I made like 4 twitches on the first cast with a frog and caught like a 2.5 pounder, which on Philpott Lake, I don't know if it's any different now, but it was a big fish in the middle of summer. And I was like, okay. And I'm telling you, it wasn't 5 minutes after that, my buddy's throwing a little jig, flipping it, and he sets a hook, and it's another 2 pounder. And so we continued to go a little bit further up, and I had like 4 or 5 big bites from fish. And because it was a week ahead of time, I'm like, we might as well set the hook on a few of these fish. And I was just a little bit younger. And anyways, dude, like, that was the winning bag of fish up in that lake. Now, on the flip side, we came back in the tournament a week later, and what I didn't know at the time was that some recent rains had actually muddied up the water a little bit, which it didn't force a lot of fish, but it pushed a lot of fish into that shallow water where we were getting bit. When we went back there, it was clean. Very clean. And I'm not saying you couldn't get bit in clean water, because that's actually what the guy on Douglas did. He was fishing clean water, but I couldn't figure him out up there. Like, I'm sure there were still some fish up there, but it definitely seemed like a lot of them had left. We weren't getting the bites that we were, and it was all because of the water going from dirtier to clean. So anyways, this time of the year, do not forget about the creeks. Whether you are a creek fisherman or a lake fisherman that goes into creeks, it can be an absolute dynamite area of the lake to fish. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, comment down below, check out Fin Fishing, and here's my most recent video. I will see you guys tomorrow.